My name is Elena Thompson. Today, in front of cameras and voters, I will end my husband's career. I am not whispering it in a mirror. I am saying it as stage lights warm my face and press risers groan under lenses pointed at a podium that does not belong to me. The banner reads Marcus Thompson for City Council. He arrives 5 minutes late because spectacle needs an entrance. The hotel ballroom hushes like a courtroom when a judge enters. Marcus steps into the flash with a campaign smile so polished it could cut glass. On his right arm is Sophia Grant, the campaign's PR director. In a dress calculated for television and control, she touches the small of his back as if guiding him. But it is the other way around. He drinks the room the way men like him drink victory. Reporters call his name. Donors crowd the aisle and pretend they are not watching me in the second row. I keep my hands folded over a manila folder that has ridden quietly in my bag for weeks. I sit still. But stillness is not surrender. It is aim. The folder holds proof. Sequence. And consequence. Arranged like dominoes waiting for the first tap. Tonight, publicly, Marcus thanks volunteers, precinct captains, and the people of this city who deserve modern leadership. He tells the crowd he has bold news about the next phase. He pauses. The hush deepens. Change, he says. It requires fresh vision and the courage to replace what no longer serves. He turns his head just enough for cameras to catch the profile, the mailers romanticize, and the cruelty the mailers cannot print. That includes my professional life and my personal life. He gestures toward Sophia. Effective immediately. Sophia Grant will assume duties previously associated with my household and with my professional partnerships. She understands the modern marketplace. She understands me. The room exhales the way crowds do when they mistake hubris for history. Sophia smiles in perfect profile. She believes this is coronation. She keeps her eyes on the cameras and not on me. It is easier to win when the other players miscount the pieces. Marcus is still speaking, gilding the insult as if it were a policy plank, talking about momentum and efficiency, about clearing out what is dated, about fresh blood. Every syllable tries to turn my life into obsolete inventory. He does not see the red light on a handheld recorder 2 rows behind me. He does not see donors already texting aides along the wall. He sees himself. I stand when he says my name. Not to applaud, but because gravity prefers honesty. The manila folder rests against my palm. Warmer than stage lights. Heavier than a wedding band. Interesting. Marcus. I say. The microphone catching only what I want it to catch. Because I have something fresher, smarter, and much better right here. It lands. The word interesting has always been a scalpel. Flashbulbs salt the air. A producer mouths keep rolling. Sophia's smile holds. Then flickers. Then tries to hold again. I do not raise my voice. The room has already turned its face toward the storm it failed to see on the radar. This is not drama for drama's sake. This is notification. Before the night is over, his donors will ask where their money went. His staff will ask what else they were not told. And voters will watch how a man behaves when the microphone is not his shield. What do you think I discovered? Subscribe now so you don't miss how this ends. The insult landed in that ballroom tonight. But the investigation that made it inevitable began the morning Marcus left his phone on our kitchen counter. The screen lit with a preview that did not bother with euphemism. The campaign account covered the suite. No worries. Baby. The sender was Sophia Grant. Saved as PR director. Not as what she had become. I did not panic. I documented and mirrored the device to a secure drive. Exported the message threads in order. And archived them under a neutral label that would not draw attention if anyone glanced at my files. I moved next to the filings every campaign hopes no one reads. The expenditure ledger listed a vendor described as PR consulting. paid $120,000 across 3 disbursements. The name was forgettable by design. A string of corporate syllables that meant nothing and invited no questions. The state registry showed a post office box. No website. No staff. And a formation date 2 weeks after Sophia joined the campaign. The address mapped to a shipping store. The uploaded receipt images were cropped so tightly they amputated context and left only totals, as if the margins might incriminate themselves. I built a timeline that did not care about feelings. Date. Amount. Memo line. Bank identifier. And any message that matched, where a receipt claimed strategy sessions. His text said "Sweet keys ready," where an invoice claimed a voter outreach pilot. His calendar showed a 3-hour block, labeled personal, where a card authorization pinged a hotel bar after midnight. Sophia sent a heart and a room number. Each contradiction pulled the same thread: misuse dressed as efficiency. Intimacy hidden inside paperwork designed to pass a glance. Records speak when you put them in sequence. I pulled bank statements for the campaign account and compared ACH batches to deposits landing at the vendor. The money left on Fridays, cleared on Mondays, then jumped again to a personal account at a different bank under a similar shell. Speed tried to hide intent. It failed. I requested merchant copies from the hotel mentioned in his messages. The folios included notes about media rates, a line for a courtesy upgrade, and signatures that matched Marcus's travel handwriting letter for letter. Information becomes power only when it reaches the right hands. David Chen was the right hands. As CFO at Thompson and Gray, David manages risk for a living and does not flinch when numbers misbehave. I asked for an hour in his office and brought only facts. We spread statements across his table. He traced finger to line the way he builds a map from noise. He found the bridge I had felt but not proved, a transfer labeled vendor reconciliation, connecting the campaign account and a business account Marcus still controlled off the books. A hop that pretended to be housekeeping. David did not editorialize. He authenticated. He exported full bank activity for relevant weeks and built a reconciliation report that showed the same sequence repeating with dull confidence. He pulled old Wani 9-second, and there was no contractor under that vendor name before the campaign existed. He locked the folder with a password only the two of us knew. Evidence first. Emotion later was the rule we kept. It made the air in that office feel colder. And it made the path forward feel mercilessly clear. There would be time for feeling when the numbers finished speaking. Sophia's messages had given me places, but not yet a voice on tape. Rebecca Morgan handled the voice. Rebecca has been my friend since college and earns her living as an investigative journalist who understands restraint better than most elected officials. I did not need headlines yet. I needed a record no podium could spin. Rebecca set a small camera in Marcus's office, angled to catch his desk and the strip of couch where he rehearsed lines. She placed a second recorder inside a notebook he never abandoned. She showed me the indicator lights and a schedule that would not trigger suspicion. While the camera watched, Marcus grew louder. He wore new suits and new cologne and acted as if costuming could become character. He boasted to Sophia about consolidating control, clearing old relationships, and winning the optics game. He rehearsed a line that would later make donors grind their teeth. We're a modern operation. Out with what's sentimental. In with what works. He spoke my name like a department slated for closure. He said replace as if it were another word for progress. And he smiled, like progress owed him something personal. I measured my heartbeat against the ledger. Not the insult. I kept collecting. The camera captured a conversation where Sophia asked whether an invoice should be split to keep a payment under a threshold that triggers additional reporting. Marcus laughed, told her to mark it as event collateral, and said the press never audits details during a wave. He believed attention can be gamed like a news cycle. He forgot accountability ages better than applause. The recorder saved every word in clean audio and timestamps. A mirror that does not blink when someone performs for it. I copied each clip to a cold drive, then to a second one. I made a summary packet a donor could understand in 2 pages, and a prosecutor could footnote in 20. I built a chain of custody with dates, hashes, and signoffs. I removed adjectives. The facts did not need help. The more complete my file became, the more careless Marcus grew. He cut me out of meetings I founded and introduced Sophia as the person who speaks my language. He practiced a smile that suggested inevitability and wore it like armor he believed could not dent. He thought I would accept a ceremonial role. He mistook courtesy for concession. He also mistook loyalty for silence. People inside a campaign notice when emails route around finance. They notice when per diems spike. They notice who stops showing receipts. Some of them talk when asked simple questions with exact dates attached. By the end of that month, the pattern was a mural. Funds moved where they should not move. Receipts said what nights already remembered. And PR consulting had become a cloak for rooms that never hosted voters. Marcus told Sophia over coffee that Elena will leave with a small settlement if she has any sense. A looked certain. Certainty makes men like him careless. I thanked him for the help in the only way that matters. I wrote it down and filed it where it belonged. I did not need to outshout him. I only needed to outlast the story he told about himself. But Marcus was not the only one plotting. Sophia had her own plans and they did not include him. Rebecca Morgan found the seam in Sophia Grant's armor where vanity outran caution. Sophia kept a campaign laptop synced to a personal cloud and reused a password. Rebecca built a small word list from public posts, tested variants offline, and unlocked the drive without tripping an alert. Inside a folder named Future Plans sat a document that read like a business plan and a confession. It mapped contacts, media targets, and a path from Marcus Thompson's campaign to Sophia's independent future. The entries were tidy. Dates lined the left margin. On the right were notes about leverage and a spreadsheet pairing contributors with positions they preferred to keep off camera. Mixed in were paragraphs about Marcus's dependence on Sophia, which she treated as a growth channel. One line, saved 3 times as if she liked rereading it, said, "Marcus thinks he's using me. Soon, I'll have the funds and contacts to start my own firm." The diary treated access like currency. Rebecca cloned the drive, preserved the original timestamps, and handed me an image we could authenticate. I matched each claim to an independent record, where Sophia wrote "Confirm Richardson offer." I found an email thread under a harmless subject with an attachment named only by numbers. The attachment opened to a signed engagement letter from Richardson Lobbying Group, contingent on access to polling crosstabs, outreach calendars, and briefs marked confidential. It promised a fee if Sophia delivered competitive insight. Money is the most reliable witness. Rebecca obtained a read-only view into Sophia's bank activity through a temporary code the VPN logs showed was generated from the campaign office. The register listed an incoming wire for $45,000 from an account traced to a Richardson subsidiary. The reference line used the initials, SG, and the month. The wire landed the same afternoon. Sophia's diary recorded meet R. For coffee. Confirm price. The bank's wire details showed origin, intermediary, and receipt. I verified the machine trail as well. The diary's most recent edits came from an IP block registered to the hotel where Marcus liked to stage donor cocktails. The save times overlapped with calendar entries titled Prep Night. Email headers for Sophia's replies to Richardson showed a consistent DKIM signature and a mail server that matched their SPF record. Each record could be reproduced by any competent examiner, and each file carried a hash and a date. This was not a theory about betrayal. It was a ledger of it. David Chen built a summary that placed Sophia's wire on a timeline beside Marcus's spending from the campaign account. The picture hardened. On weeks when Marcus moved money to the shell vendor labeled PR consulting, Sophia logged calls with Richardson and updated a tab named Launch Runway. She was not a passenger on his rise. She was stitching a parachute from his banner fabric and did not plan to land with him. The camera Rebecca hid kept doing its quiet work. It captured Sophia coaching Marcus to keep invoices under thresholds that trigger extra scrutiny and to describe hotel charges as event collateral. It recorded Sophia floating the phrase "friendly buyer" for strategic insights if the campaign wanted a graceful exit. Marcus smiled at the word buyer and never asked who might be buying. I assembled 2 packets. The donor packet was 2 pages in plain English, the engagement letter, the wire confirmation, a calendar overlay, and 1 paragraph in which Sophia promised exclusive look-aheads in exchange for consulting latitude. The investigator packet stacked bank logs, device logs, and emails with chain of custody notes, and a short memo explaining why each record authenticated the next. I left out adjectives. The facts did not need assistance. By the time I closed the index, the double betrayal was no longer a headline. It was a structure that could stand on its own weight. Marcus had misused funds and believed optics could outrun arithmetic. Sophia had converted his misuse into her seed money and treated the campaign's data like inventory. They thought they were building momentum. What they were building was evidence with boundaries and names. Marcus thought he was running for office. He didn't know he was running into prison. Marcus believed fatigue would do what persuasion could not. I let him see what he wanted, a partner who was tired of public glare and internal battles. A woman who would rather step back than spar. I canceled 2 appearances with a polite note about workload, declined a panel he had expected me to anchor, and stopped correcting his talking points in the margins. He took the silence as surrender. He told staff to route approvals through Sophia Grant and called it modernization. His confidence was the easiest lever in the room. Preparation began where pressure hurts most. Harrison Capital, a major donor to Marcus's campaign, agreed to a quiet meeting off the calendar. I brought only verifiable documents and no adjectives. The donor packet laid out a straight-line disbursements labeled PR Consulting. A shell entity formed weeks after Sophia joined, hotel folios that mirrored text messages, and a reconciliation showing campaign funds paying for a private suite. I added the second line that mattered even more to them: Sophia's signed engagement letter with Richardson Lobbying Group and the bank record of a $45,000 wire. The faces around the table did not shift much, but the questions did. They asked about authentication, custody, and exposure. I gave them the chain and offered a simple contingency when I sent a single-word text. They would withdraw support publicly and issue a statement about stewardship. They agreed to the procedure and kept their copy of the packet. I left them with timestamps, hashes, and a promise that nothing would be sprung without the evidence already in their hands. While donors positioned themselves, Rebecca Morgan built the release that would run when the lights were hottest. She assembled a clean narrative for publication that matched each claim to a record and avoided speculation. It carried the documents we were prepared to publish and referenced those we would furnish to investigators upon request. Her editor flagged every sentence that could be read as inference and replaced it with a line that sat on paper. The story would hold until I sent her a signal from the ballroom. A producer in the press pool would already be rolling. When the third exhibit hit the screen, Rebecca would publish. The timing was designed to prevent a counterspin from setting before facts did. David Chen finalized 2 bundles. The first was the donor stack, 2 pages anyone could understand in a hotel lobby with a reporter waiting by the door. The second was the investigator's stack full statements, device logs, email headers with DKIM records, the diary image with preservation notes, and a methodology for the reconciliation that another accountant could replicate. He printed clean sets and sealed them in envelopes with index numbers that matched a redacted table of contents. He also loaded encrypted copies onto drives labeled by hash and date, then stored duplicates off-site. If anyone tried to claim tampering, the record would meet the claim at the door. I treated the event itself like trial logistics. I checked the ballroom projector, the switcher, and the microphone sensitivity, so nothing would distort when evidence landed. I walked the room before the chairs filled and noted where cameras would post and which angles would catch faces without inviting a security claim about intrusion. I asked hotel staff about backup power and confirmed the venue's policy for audio-visual outages. I printed key exhibits on heavy stock and kept them in the manila folder in case someone pulled a plug. The plan could withstand a microphone failing, a screen going dark, or a staffer inventing a delay. Playing exhausted required choreography. I thanked Sophia in front of volunteers for taking so much off my plate and meant it only in the way a chess player means sacrifice. I let Marcus announce a new decision-making flow and did not contest it in the room. He sent a memo excluding me from a strategy loop and smiled as if the page itself conferred authority. The more he believed in his inevitability, the less he watched the perimeter. It made every next step lighter. The night before the press conference, I laid the sequence in order one last time. Exhibit 1 would be campaign bank statements and the transfers to the shell. Exhibit 2 would be hotel and retail receipts matched to dates and messages. Exhibit 3 would be the Richardson letter and Sophia's $45,000 wire. Exhibit 4 would be selected audio. Clean and short, with his own phrasing about replacing me and treating abuse of trust as modernization. At the third exhibit, Harrison Capital would release their statement and Rebecca would publish. At the fourth, the room would finish the work for me. The stage was ready. Marcus himself would hand me the microphone for his own destruction. On my laptop, a folder named Sequence waited on the desktop, mirrored to 2 drives and printed in the manila folder at my elbow. The cursor hovered over the first file and did not shake. The ballroom was filled with donors, reporters, and the kind of spectators who believe campaigns are theater. Marcus Thompson treated it like his stage. He opened with polished lines about fresh leadership and modern vision, his voice carrying the confidence of a man, certain the crowd belonged to him. He gestured toward Sophia Grant as if she were both strategy and prize. The press pool scribbled. Camisetas rolled. And I sat where he expected resignation. The manila folder lay flat across my lap, steady as a gavel. When he pivoted to dismiss me as outdated, I stood. The projector screen flickered as my laptop connected. The first slide appeared campaign bank statements, showing $120,000 transferred to a vendor that existed only on paper. I explained in one sentence what the numbers proved. The room shifted from applause to silence. Reporters lifted their eyes from notepads. A donor at the second row leaned forward as if proximity could soften arithmetic. The second slide followed. Receipts from hotels and retailers appeared beside text messages and calendar entries. Each receipt showed how Marcus used campaign money to pay for sweets and gifts, matched exactly to his messages with Sophia. His face tensed, then tried to smile, but the smile collapsed under its own weight. Sophia touched his arm, and even that gesture looked rehearsed and brittle. Then came the third slide. The engagement letter between Sophia and Richardson Lobbying Group, followed by the $45,000 wire transfer to her account. The air in the room tightened. Reporters raised cameras higher. At that precise moment, Harrison Capital's public statement dropped on their phones, announcing immediate withdrawal of funding. Rebecca Morgan's article went live, quoting documents word for word. The news cycle shifted in real time, faster than Marcus could process. The final exhibit was brief audio from a recording. Marcus's own voice filled the room, describing me as obsolete and declaring, "Elena will be lucky if she can rent a small apartment." The words echoed against chandeliers and microphones. No spin could dilute them. Gasps and murmurs rose, and Marcus's attempt to interrupt was drowned out by the weight of his own phrasing. His armor cracked in front of cameras, the collapse happening on the record. Reporters called questions he could not answer. Donors stood, some already leaving. Aides froze. Caught between loyalty and self-preservation, Sophia's expression faltered into something close to panic. The story she meant to control slipped into public record with her name on every page. Richardson Lobbying Group was already issuing denials. But the wire and the diary made denial a hollow sound. By the following morning, the city's Ethics Commission announced an official inquiry. Marcus received notice to appear for questioning about misuse of campaign funds. Sophia faced exposure for corporate espionage. Their alliance unraveled in full view, and neither could shield the other. The family name Marcus had used as a credential now trailed headlines about fraud and betrayal. Every door he meant to open for himself closed before the hinges cooled. I walked out of that ballroom without raising my voice. I carried only the folder. Lighter now that its contents had been spoken into the record. Reporters shouted for quotes. But silence served better. Sometimes the best revenge is not in court filings or settlements. Sometimes the best revenge is standing still while those who underestimated you collapse under their own evidence. With the whole world watching, did Elena's revenge deliver the justice you needed to see? If betrayal deserves this kind of exposure, subscribe to Revenge Ties and join our community of sharp eyes and stronger voices. Comment which twist stunned you most. And never miss another story of payback perfectly served.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.